So Dave, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance when we see the flag come up. So feel free to mute your microphone if you would prefer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so do we have a volunteer today for the invocation or a motivational phrase?
I have one.
All right, Earl, go for it.
This is something that we should think about and should do. Remember to sing like no one's listening. Love like you've never been hurt. Dance like nobody's watching. And live like heaven is on earth.
I like it. Thank you. All right, so welcome to our guest today. We've got Linda, former Lieutenant Governor. Hi, Linda.
Hello, how are you?
Good. And we've got Representative Jack Zika with us today as our speaker. We'll hear from him here in just a little bit.
Everybody.
Welcome, Jack. All right, and then our announcements for today. I have no birthdays this week. You know, it's been kind of a slim month for birthdays. But does anybody else have an announcement to make today?
A gentle prod that dues are due, and we'd appreciate your check in the mail or a telephone call for a credit card payment.
All right. Did you get the phone situation all figured out?
We've got a landline and a cell phone, so
okay.
We'll talk to two people at once.
Got it. All right, Chris.
Just a reminder, road cleanup is this Saturday. Our mile stretch of highway there, North Redmond. Meet at Pappy's Pizza on the side there at 8 o'clock. And then we'll figure out who's going where. So lasts about hour and a half, 2 hours.
What time did you say, Rick?
8.
8 o'clock, Chris?
Yeah, a little earlier than before.
Okay. And many hands make light work. So many people as we can get to help will be done quicker. So, and then I've got one quick announcement, just a reminder, our induction and award ceremony is tomorrow at 5 p.m. out at Juniper. So if you're planning to attend, we'll see you at 5. Anybody else have an announcement before we move on?
I have another one, Rachel.
Yeah, go for it.
I'd just like to thank everybody that participated in our food bag program. We did make 700 pounds, but we did make enough so that combined with what we already had, we have raised 4,008 pounds of food for the food bank. That's 2 tons of food. So thank you, everybody that participated. I appreciate it. Thank you,
That's
Roland,
amazing.
for your help.
Thank you, Earl. All right, and then I've got a message here from Michelle. She said that it looks like they're looking for somebody to help with Jericho Road this Friday, October 1st. So,
I can.
Linda, you can?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to let Dan know for you, or do you want to contact him?
Can you let Dan know?
Sure.
Dan is back in Michigan.
Okay. Do you know, is somebody coordinating for him while he's gone?
Well, he asked for volunteers last week, and I thought he had everything taken care of, but
okay.
Did somebody become not available?
Yes. So Linda, do you know where to go and when to be there?
Yep, I've done it.
Good enough. All right, that works. Okay, all right. So one last call for announcements. I'm scrolling through, make sure you wave. Dawn, go for it.
I just think that it's really important that we encourage each and to attend the installation. I'm calling it the installation function tomorrow night. I think the new officers need that and deserve that support, and that it is appropriate that each of us try to make that event and bring guests and fellow members and so forth. So I think it's important that we really support that function. So I don't know what the itinerary is or the detail or whatever. I haven't studied it carefully enough, but brief us on that if you would, President John.
Yeah, so I am looking forward to celebrating all of our successes over the last year, and definitely we're going to be saying goodbye to the outgoing leadership and welcoming the new leadership. And I'm really excited for the whole thing. Some of you, I've been spamming your email boxes trying to come up with details for my agenda for the night. So I apologize, and I really appreciate everybody getting back to me quickly so I can get all of that lined out. But it's going to be a really fun night, at least I think so. So yeah, I look forward to it. Okay, all right, so let's move on to happy dollars. If you are happy today, wave your hand.
Let's see, am I happy about it?
Earl.
I've got a couple of happy dollars. First of all, Michigan State beat Nebraska, and go MSU. So we're 4-0 right now. The other one is for Rachel and all the work that she's done this year as president. It's a tough job sometimes, and she's done it well. And she's had some adversity, both. So I really appreciate everything she's done. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Earl. Chris.
I'll second that with a happy dollar for you, Rachel. 3 happy dollars for the Ducks, the Beavers, and the Louisville Cardinals. They all had a win. So.
All right, Zia, I saw your hand.
Okay, I have a happy dollar for my son, who is doing great at his first year of middle school, and he joined cross country, and he doesn't totally blow. He wasn't the last one to finish the race, so we're proud of that. Also, our daughter is just 2 semesters away from finally graduating college. It's only taken about 8 or 9 years, but who's counting? We're happy. And I'm also happy because I accomplished a lot at work this week and this month. So I know you guys are probably mostly retired, but that's a big deal for me. So I have 3 happy dollars.
Thank you. All right, Carl, I see your hand.
Yes, as most people know, I'm a gardening geek, and so there was frost on the rooftops in our neighborhood last night, but not in the garden. So I think the tomatoes have got another couple of weeks in which they can ripen.
Nice. Josh.
I have 3 happy dollars. First, for a successful camping trip this last weekend. We went up to Hood River and picked apples and pears, and it was just a really good time. Second happy dollar for a good Elton Gregory Middle School volleyball win yesterday. My daughter's playing and really enjoying it. And that's been fun to watch. And then the third happy dollar is for tomorrow's induction ceremony. Another successful year.
Okay, anybody else? Final call. All right, I don't see any other hands. Okay, so.
John Duff.
John, did you have one?
Yes, I did. I'll put 5 in. Ducks squeaked out another win. They're ranked number 3, but it doesn't feel like they're playing to number 3 level. So hopefully they step up their game this weekend against the smart kids from Stanford. Olivia's doing well at college. She hasn't come home and called to say, please come pick me up. So that's a happy dollar. Danny's football team won last week again. So they're 3-1 on the season. So happy about that. And then after last week's game and Friday's game in Portland, I got to go to the coast for a couple days and met up with our cousins that live in Bend and did some crabbing and managed to, out of Garibaldi, max out on crab for a day. And we pulled up one pot. It had 42 crabs in it. Wow. So I got my crab fill. So happy about that.
Good workout.
Nice.
Just a reminder, you can pay your happy dollars on our contact page on our website. So you just pay it by PayPal.
Yes, thank you, Dave. Okay, all right. Okay, so our joke for the day. What is worse than finding a worm in your apple?
Half a worm.
Yes, finding half a worm is definitely worse. All right, Jack. Thank you for joining us. The floor is all yours.
Well, thank you for telling a joke, so I didn't have to open up with a bad joke. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. What an amazing! Thank you so much for what you do for our community. I really appreciate it. And when you're going through all these things, it sounds like we are entangled in a lot of these things when it comes to childcare, with the Kiwanis helping outreach, with the food bank, and the ARPA funds that I was able to allocate towards the food bank through Neighbor Impact, which was $800,000. So it sounds like we're doing a lot of things together, even though we're not together right now. So, but anyway, my name is Jack Zika. I'm your state representative here for Redmond, parts of Bend, and Sun River. I'm on the Early Childhood Committee as the vice chair, on the Housing Committee, General Government Committee, Transportation and Economic Development for Ways and Means, and the House Rules Committee, where all the controversial bills go before they hit the House floor. So we just went in for a special legislative session this last week for drawing the district lines for who we're all voting for, congressional lines and legislative lines. And I can tell you, I'm exhausted, mentally exhausted from it. It's been a battle back and forth between both sides. We left not talking to each other, so it didn't really go well. And we thought the process was unfair. The Republicans, we thought the process was unfair because we were told that it was going to be a fair committee, evenly split for the redistricting with Republicans and Democrats. And the speaker at first did that, but then she went back on her deal and created a Democrat-heavy committee. And that's why we have the lines that we do now. And so we spent the night talking about that and calling out how unfair the process was. And we now have our congressional lines where we got an extra congressman, so we'll have a CD6 now because our population went up. And the way they drew the lines, 4 of those touch Multnomah County, including the one they put us in. So we'll be, instead of in Congress District 2 with Cliff Benson, which was Greg Wall and the whole east side of the state, that is now changed, and we will be in CD5, which is Kurt Schrader. And it goes from Multnomah County all the way down through Lake Oswego into Albany, and then cuts over and gets Sisters, Redmond, Tumalo, Bend, and Sun River. And so it looks like a boot shape. It's kind of like the shape of Italy, really, on how they did it. And it doesn't make sense. I've called them out on common interests and communities of common interests, and we don't have the same needs as Portland. We're totally different when it comes to rural areas. When it comes to water districts, forest fire districts. Our colleges service the east side of the state through COCC and OSU Cascades, and even St. Charles, our healthcare provider, provides service to the east side of state. When somebody gets severely injured, they get air flighted into St. Charles, and they have split Lapine and Prineville off from that. So now you'll have 2 congressmen with probably different parties and different ideals advocating for 2 different things in our region because they split Deschutes County into 2. So needless to say, I wasn't happy about any of that, and I voted no on both of those. And the legislative maps, they shrunk the district. The District 53 had to lose 12,000 voters, which was understandable. We have a high growth rate. Deschutes County has been growing really fast. It's the fastest county in Oregon, and I believe it's the fastest county in the nation, or not fast, 5th fastest nation in the country. So, or 5th fastest county in the country. Wow, that's a tongue twister. So anyway, they cut House District 53, which I anticipated I would lose Sun River and parts of Bend, but what they did was they cut Redmond in half. They put it down Greenwood, And I called out their hypocrisy, saying that, the line criteria says that there has to be a river, mountain range, administrative border, a city line, or a county line. That is the criteria that they use, and none of that exists on Greenwood. They purposely cut that line down the middle to make the seat more. It's now a 2-point Democrat advantage. So they purposely gerrymandered Redmond and Bend in a way that they could come after the seat, which I'm all about having competitive seats, and I think every seat should be competitive, but they did it in a way that cut Redmond. They could have added more Bend into the seat and it would have been fine. You didn't have to cut Redmond out and split, because the way they cut it down on Greenwood, the hospital's on the other side. It's in another district now. The new proposed police station will be in a new district now. The fire service district, they'll be servicing districts and outside of that district. So the tertiary care for the hospitals are all in different districts now. So we're going to have 2 representatives with 2 different priorities. My priority has been Redmond and Bend, and now my priorities will stay that way. But the person that's in the district to the north of us, their priority might be Prineville, or it might be Madras instead. So now they put us in a weird spot. So I can tell you that we are not happy with this, and when going forward, we're going to pursue either a court challenge if it seems like we can get the courts, if we can do something about the lines. But if not, we're going to pursue it with the League of Women Voters has proposed back a year ago, which got denied, was the independent citizen commission to draw the lines, a nonpartisan body to draw these lines. And we should have fair lines. And so I will continue to fight for that. I'll do whatever I can to make sure that we can get these lines drawn fair, even if it's not this time and it's in 2 years, or even if it's next time in 10 years. So we're going to make sure that this changes. A partisan body should not be drawing the lines for their political power, because there's too much there's not enough incentive to not relinquish your power, right? So the majority party will always retain power, and if they draw the maps, Republican or Democrat. I'm not just saying it's the Democrats. The Republicans are doing it in other states too. So I think that's just the way that we solve that, is making a citizen commission to draw the lines. Okay, now that I got through the special session and how unhappy I am about that, but I will go into the legislative session. We had our first virtual session, and because of the pandemic, the Capitol was closed. Not all of us were happy about that, but I think public input was drastically undercut throughout this process with redistricting in the special session and with the session. The first question I always get was, how did it go? And I can tell you that the building was empty. It was just representatives and their chiefs of staff, so like a limited staff members. So the building was empty. Typically, we have constituents in there, we have advocates in there, we have unions in there, we have lobby in there, and it's really easy to hear and get information on bills and what's going on in the building. This way, it was not. We had a hard time trying to figure out what bills were moving, what was going to happen next. And so I really missed that communication in the building with all of you and with the advocates for particular issues. The good thing about having a virtual, and I hope we keep this, is that the good folks of Redmond and Central Oregon, they didn't have to drive 2.5 hours to Salem to testify for 3 minutes. I mean, that's ridiculous sometimes when you only get 3 minutes to testify. So now you can do it through Microsoft Teams or Zoom. So it's a platform like this where you can testify on a bill and you don't have to drive, you don't have to wait for gas, you don't have to waste all your time. So that part I liked a lot, but we don't get the face-to-face conversations that we used to have. So I hope when the Capitol opens up, you all come back and visit for the short session. But if you can testify virtually, it would be amazing. So anyway, we'll go through some of the bills that I was able to get through and some of the resources that I brought back to the community to really help out childcare and housing. It was where I really focused this year. So in childcare, particularly, the one bill that I worked with Representative Powers across the aisle, we saw in the pandemic that there was $70 million for childcare and to retain them so they would stay open. And the early learning division was having really a hard time getting that money out, identifying who was in trouble. And in the meantime, we were having childcare providers closing left and right, and they were shuttering their doors for good. So we were already in a childcare desert where 2 or 3 kids out of 10 That's the only spots that we have. So when we lose 40% of them, it put us in a really tough spot. So what we ended up doing is we created the Department of Early Learning and Care. It's called DELC. And we worked on that for about 1.5 years. And that really props up the early learning division and separates them out of the Department of Education, created their own department. And we have a lot of programs like employment-related daycare, Head Start, Baby Promise, Preschool Promise. There's a whole bunch of different programs for childcare, but they're housed in all kinds of different departments. They're in DHS, they're in the Department of Education, they're in OHA. So what we did is we really just started picking them out and putting them. We're going to consolidate them into this Department of Early Learning and Care. And this will be about a 2-3 year process to try to get all of those consolidated in there. But in that bill as well, what we did was we expanded the employment-related daycare program. So that program helps out low-income families and afford daycare or childcare. And now we're through the pandemic, we eliminated the copay, and we wanted to try to keep it as low as we could. So we were able to get the resources put in there to expand it, to expand the program to help more families and also keep the copay low. So that was a huge win for what we were able to do in that department. And then, so I assume that department will grow and be able to help out more families. We put in about $500 million into that. And that is the first significant investment in our kids under 5 that the state has done. So that was huge. It was huge for our kids, and it was huge for daycare. It's huge for childcare. It's huge for parents, because now there's only one place you can go to get answers instead of being tossed around to all these different departments. Now you have one place to go and get your questions and get resources and get help that you need if you need assistance. So I think that was a really great win. I had House Bill 3109, which started when I was on the Planning Commission for the city of Redmond. I noticed that in the city code, we treated daycares differently than regular businesses. They had additional unconditional use permit fees. They've had transportation fees. They had all these different fees for a very low margin business that doesn't make much money. And why would you have all these initial costs to start up the business? So the city of Redmond ended up getting rid of the unconditional use permit, and the city of Bend ended up drastically cutting their transportation permit. So what we did as the state, and I modeled something both off of those, of both of our cities, and created this Bill 3901. And now the city cannot treat a daycare any different than any other business. And so you'll have one cost for the permit, and it's an allowed use in all commercial, all residential, and some industrial, as long as it does not heavy industrial or has a hazard waste. I'm losing the word, but anyway, I think you know where I'm getting at. So that was a great win for childcare and eliminating red tape and making it easier to open a childcare business. We had a lot of complaints from people that even in the city of Redmond, that they were having a hard time opening a childcare business in downtown Redmond. They couldn't do it because they couldn't get through all of the processes and all the inspections. So now, hopefully, we've changed that. We've made it easier for people, and we can get those preschools, we can get those daycares up and running, and help our economy get back up and running, because childcare providers are the essential worker for the essential worker. You know, if you have a police officer or a paramedic, you can't go to work if you can't find somebody to watch your kids. So this was extremely important that we do something about this. So I really took pride in trying to help in doing this, and I'm really proud of what we were able to accomplish. So we also got rid of the quality rating part. ELD said that the 3-star, 4-star thing wasn't working. And so we got rid of that. They went back to the drawing board to come up with something better. His parents were feeling like if they didn't get their kid into a 4-star, that they were somehow failing. And it wasn't that way. It was just that maybe that provider didn't do bilingual programming, or maybe they didn't do something else, sign language, or, you know, some other program that they didn't do. So now they're coming across when they'll have a specific page so parents can go there and look and see what the programs are offered. It's just going to take probably about 1 year to roll that out. The Tribal Early Learning Hub was established for Warm Springs, which is a big win for our tribes. So now they'll have additional funds going through to help them with childcare and help them with the services that they need, and to get them up and running. So we're happy to get that through. That was House Bill 2055. And we did a lot of things for housing. And if remember, I've been in housing most of my career, so this has been a very important thing for me. So we brought in, we've been doing this fight for ADUs, which is an additional dwelling unit for your house. And we got it in the cities a few years ago, but we didn't get it in the rural areas. So now we've passed Senate Bill 391 with Senator Knopp and I. We were able to get that through. And so you can build in rural residential areas within 100 feet of your house. You can build a 900 square foot accessory dwelling unit. The Deschutes County was very active in the testimony and trying to get that through. So I thank the Deschutes County for really putting together something. And they've been really spearheading the rule process, trying to get it through faster, because we were told that it might take a year or two before rulemaking to get this through. But they're spearheading and trying to get it through faster to help out people. And if something, a little trivia question, Deschutes County has the most permitted pottery kennels in the state, because people were building and you can't get a permit for a stove, but they were giving permits for these pottery kennels so they can have that in there. So now all those maybe will get switched over to stoves and ovens. So it was just something that the Deschutes County was trying to help people out. So throughout the pandemic, we've had the eviction moratorium that we've been going back and forth, and we had to extend, and we had to try to do these programs. So Representative Fahey and I, she's out of Eugene, we got together last summer, and we really put together a program called the Landlord Compensation Fund. And the Landlord Compensation Fund pays back the rent that was arrear. So the past rent that they weren't able to get because they lost their job or they got sick. And we really advocated, and I was able to get $200 million put into that program. And so that was on a special session before this legislative session that we passed. But the only caveat on that is that the landlord had to take a 20% cut in the rent that they were owed. So they were only getting 80% of the money back for that, and the state was helping them out. They had to apply for assistance. So then what happened in the session was how Senate Bill 282, and I was able to do an agreement and across the aisle that they would extend this period, for the grace period, for people to pay back the money until February. So this coming February. So now you can't get evicted for non-payment if you've applied for assistance to help pay the back rent, and maybe assistance going forward if you haven't found a job or are able to pay a rent. So that goes until February. And then if you don't get the money within 60 days, there's a separate fund set up to help the landlord out. But in the meantime, I negotiated that we got that 80% back up to 100%. So now everybody's whole. We've made this straight. Everybody's, both sides agree. And it was a win for everybody. It was a win for tenants, and it was a win for landlords. We were really able to accomplish something good. And so now people won't get evicted for failing to pay their rent and failing to pay the back rent until February. So that's plenty of time for somebody to try to apply to get assistance. Neighbor Impact has been solid on this. They are getting money out. They're one of the only community action agencies that are doing well. We had a really hard time with the software. Alita is the software program, and they were backed up. Their process was awful. The application was taking too long. Oregon Housing and Community Services had to outsource 12,000. First it was 8,000, and then 12,000 additional applications out of Multnomah County because they couldn't process them fast enough. They weren't making the 60-day threshold. So they outsourced them out. They were able to process those. Now we've kind of turned a corner. We're doing better, and we're going to get all these out because there's a time limit for these funds. You had to get it out by the end of September. And we also got $250 million from the feds on the last stimulus. So that money has to go out as well. So there's $450 million going out to help people pay back rent. And these timelines were coming up. So we were really trying to push hard. And I think we're gonna make it. I've been assured by the director that she said that they were going to be able to do it. And then Scott Cooper at Neighbor Impact, they've been pushing out money. So here in Central Oregon, we're doing great. I really appreciate all the work that Neighbor Impact does with our housing. What else we have? We've got a lot of programs. We got healthy home programs to help out Habitat for Humanity. There's $10 million to help them out. We also brought in a few $1 million to help out the Quince Townhome project that's going to go out, or development that's going to go down on Quince. That's through Habitat for Humanity. So we brought in some resources there. We brought in $13 million for OSU Cascades so they could put that student success building that the students actually voted to increase their tuition or a fee on their tuition to help pay for this. So it's a building that won't even exist when they've graduated and moved on. It won't even get built till after that. They have voted and approved. So it was a big, bold step that the students did. And we were able to help them with some state funds to get that building completed. So $13 million will be coming in for that. We also got 2 judges. It's been over 20 years since we've had a judge, an addition of another judge in Deschutes County. And our population has boomed. Right. And so the court system is backed up. They weren't able to process claims. They weren't able to do all. I mean, it was just awful. So we really worked with them and worked with the Speaker of the House, and we were able to get 2 judges, and we were the only county to get any judges this year. So that was a big step, and I'm so happy that we were able to do that. I think I mentioned the neighbor impact money was $800,000. It's going to expand the food bank here in Redmond. They're going to be building that here. And I was happy to hear that the Deschutes County wanted to triple the money that I started. So they put in another $2.5 million or something. I don't know, something like that. So, hey, if there's a little friendly competition, that's great, as long as it's helping out people, and we're going to get that built. So I was happy to hear that. It sounds like it's going to go forward. Really excited for that. Reach with Redmond Early Learning, that the merger there was, and I was able to get them $200,000 to help out with that, and the administrative costs, the startup cost, and getting that first year. The Kiwanis have been really active in that, and I really appreciate your work. Is that an old Kiwana building? Is that right? The building, I toured it, and I think that's what they said it was.
Opportunity Center.
Yes, there you go. Thank you. So yes, it looks beautiful. They did great. It looks wonderful and painted, and they're starting to get all the installations in. So it looks great, and I think it's going to be a wonderful addition to our community, and it's desperately needed. So really appreciate all your work on that. The previous session I was able to pass was called Skyline Village, and that's an affordable housing pilot project that will have 485 affordable housing units on the east side of Redmond. And so we spoke with Redmond before the session, and what they really needed was help with the interceptor sewer line that comes in. It's one of the bigger sewer lines. It's a feed line that goes through, and it was going to cost $2 million. And it really kicks off the development on the east side. So the east side development, Skyline Village is the key that opens the door to the whole east side to start develop in Redmond. So we were able to get $2 million to put in there for a sewer line to really kick that off. And I believe they are going through the process of annexation of the land. It's already been approved. So we're going to get some affordable housing units here in Redmond, which it's so excited to see that, because we all see the housing prices are going up. It's just out of control. I hope we're not in another housing bubble, but at least this affordable housing is deed restricted, and that to be at, I believe it's at 50% of AMI or 70% of AMI. It's been a while. So, but these are going to be really affordable houses, and it's going to help out a lot of families. We brought in $1 million to connect our sidewalks. I know it might sound like something small, but when I was on the neighborhood revitalization committee for Redmond, that was important. And as you walk through our town, the sidewalks, they need help. And there's some schools that don't even have sidewalks around them, which I thought was awful. If you have kids that are walking on the street or trying to get to school, we need to do something about that. So I brought in $1 million to go help and repair our sidewalks and connect our sidewalks here in Redmond. So very proud about that. And then the last thing that I was able to do with funds, well, it's not the last thing. There was a few things with the Central Oregon pipe for irrigation. We got $10 million for that, and that'll be matched with federal funds for water conservation. And COCC retained their money to expand their Redmond campus. So those two were too good. But the last thing was we brought in $3 million for a mental health triage for the city of Redmond. And what that was going to be, it was going to be on the north side of town, and it was going to connect to the new proposed police department, but St. Charles has stepped up and said that they have a spot next to their hospital, and I think that's a way better spot to have it next to a hospital than a police station. So we have money coming in for our mental health issues that we might have here in the city and get people the help that they need. So some wraparound services. I was really happy to be able to bring that in and help out our city. So Redmond got a lot of attention this year, and I don't think we've ever got this much attention before, but it was real. I was really happy to be there and really happy to get things that we need for our community. I know I've went through a bunch, and if you have any questions about anything that happened throughout the session, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you for the information. It's great. One question I had is with that rent fund, how much do we know how many people are behind in rent here in Oregon? The reason I'm asking is I know folks that have a lot of rentals that are waiting for the ability to raise their rent. And what does that mean for those folks that may not be able to afford that rise in rent as their next step? So kind of that's my curiosity is what is the amount of people that are behind on rent, and will that 200 million, which sounds like a huge number, be able to support them?
I don't know if we can tell how many, but there's been I think there was 20,000 applications the first month there, and it's gone up since. So we're not looking at a small number of people. I think it was like 20% of renters are owe some sort of back rent. And I've also heard 40%. So, I mean, those are two different numbers that are floating around. But as for rent increases, the number just came out. It was released. I believe it's 9.9% that they can increase their rent because of Senate Bill 608 with the rent control. But that number's come out, so they can still continue to raise rent. But just within those guidelines. And even if it was back, I don't know, you'd have to look and see if they're accepting state funds, if they were able to raise the rent. I don't know the answer on that, but neighbor impact would.
Well, great information anyway, and thanks for being a good voice for Redmond.
Thank you.
Jack?
Yes.
Just on another topic, I was in education, so I'm always interested in what's going on down in Salem in terms of education. Do you see anything going on this year that's going to be helpful to the school districts in the state?
Yeah, we had the highest budget ever passed for our education. So that's huge. That comes from the corporate activities tax, which maybe we're all not happy about. Maybe we are, I don't know, but that added additional funds. So we have the highest budget ever passed. So now we had additional funds, and we proposed, I think it was 9.8 billion, and that was struck down. And then we passed 9.6, and then the governor vetoed part of that, and we went down to 9.3. But we're still at the highest budget we've ever had for our schools. That being said, we have a lot of issues that happened last year with virtual learning. So we have to really try to make up, and I think we're putting a lot of pressure on teachers right now with trying to make up for the previous year. And we're also have this hybrid learning of virtual and in person. So I think we have a lot of issues that we have to try to figure out with our education. But yeah, the funds are going to be there. So I was really happy to see that. And we, even with the High Desert School District, we were worried that our special needs children's they were not going to get the funds because they had an initial increase in our area of $10 million. And they were worried that they didn't want to hire more special ed teachers if we didn't continue those funds. That they would just have to immediately fire them, but those funds we were able to maintain that. So I believe that we're going to see some leaps and bounds when it comes to our special needs children.
Jack, just one more question for me, and that is concerning the special session. We're not a special session, but the short session coming up,
yes,
which is always kind of an interesting term of session. Initially, the short sessions were set up to kind of take care of whatever imbalances, particularly in the budget that was you couldn't foresee a year before. this year, well, not just this year, but ever since, it's kind of turned into almost a zoo down there with everybody and their brother bringing all this that's got to really be passed. Is there any talk about either A, having a full session, or B, trying to put some discipline on you folks so that we only deal with what's necessary?
I like that. So yeah, you're right. The short session is just a concentrated version of a regular session. The only difference is that we only have 2 bills. In a long session, I could introduce 100 bills, and we do have representatives that do put in 100 bills, which is ridiculous. And so we only have 2 bills, but the committees can put in limited bills. So if you really talk to your committee chair, you can get as many bills as you want in. There has been talk of trying to extend it. So it's 2 months, so it's not so hyper and concentrated, but I don't see any changes in the foreseeable future happening to that session. Yeah. And I can talk about, actually, before we, I don't know if we're getting ready to stop, but I forgot to talk about the homeless funds that came in. So we have it was House Bill 2004, 2006 that we worked on, and we were able to bring the city of Bend a navigation center. We brought in $2.5 million to help them with the homeless, and especially now when we were talking about the frost and it's getting cold. We have a really hard time when it comes to winter shelters and when they're going to open and the timing and how to keep them open. So with these funds that are being brought in, and with the way we structured the bills on siting, hopefully the Bethlehem Inn will figure out something with the city to get something here in Redmond. They wanted to expand with that Project Turnkey. It sounds like it might be stalled in the city council, but I don't know exactly the details on it. But we brought some funds in to help that process. So to help those folks, especially in the winter, make sure they stay warm. So I didn't want to leave here without saying something about that. So we tried to help as much as we could.
Speak. Jack, I'm just new to the area. We've only been here 4 years, so we're catching up on a lot of things like geography. and I just wanted to say how much I appreciated your mentioning 2 or 3 times that you're working across the aisle.
Yeah.
And cooperatively, you can sure get a lot more done.
Yeah.
That's very encouraging.
I appreciate that. That's the most rewarding part about this job, is reaching across the aisle, like with Representative Power when we did the Department of Early Learning Care, and Representative Fahey when we did the Landlord Compensation Fund. And we came up with 2 great ideas and 2 great programs, and we were able to get it across because it was bipartisan and we came together. Last 2 nights ago with redistricting, it was a completely partisan dogfight, and that was the worst part about this job. That I don't want to see that ever again. It was so bad, and we walked out of that building and it was quiet. You could hear a pin drop. It was nasty. That's the part of politics that's bad, and we shouldn't have that. So thank you anyway. I agree.
What's the best way to, like, when session's going on? I tried to reach out a couple times on some tax measures and things like that. And what's the best way to reach you if we have questions on stuff that's currently happening, or try to get some comments to them?
Yeah, you can email me. The Capitol is closed, so or at least it's open in the front, but our offices are closed. So the phone number, I have a hard time getting my voicemails from the office in Salem. Mm-hmm. So would they give us an app and it works? It doesn't work. It's really shoddy. So I apologize if you called and I didn't return your call.
Oh, no worries.
And then emails works. But if it's in a particular contentious time, I'll get 500 emails in a day. And it's so everybody will get lost. Sure. I would be happy to, my personal email is just jack@jackzika.com. And so I see all those. I don't get that many emails on that. So that would be the easiest way to get me. But the official one is rep.jackzika@oregonlegislature.gov. And somebody on my staff should flag it for me. But like I said, sometimes when there's a gun bill or there's something else that's happening, I'll get 500 canned emails saying vote no or vote yes, or
I just posted that on chat, all your information.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it.
Jack, I thank you for coming. Having been in politics a little bit, I understand some of the pressures, and I appreciate what you do for us. So thank you for stopping by and spending some time with us.
Thank you. I'm always happy to come to the Kiwanis group. You guys are wonderful. From the debates into these recaps, I love talking to you. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for your time. We know it's not an easy job, and we appreciate what you do for us.
Thank you.
All right, I think that's it for today. I don't see any other questions. So I'm going to sign off with a parting thought today, and that is, don't stop until you're proud. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your day.